There are few available options for the treatment of urothelial cancer once patients have failed primary therapy. The standard approach to treating these patients with metastatic disease includes cisplatin or carboplatin frontline chemotherapy followed by checkpoint inhibition therapy. Currently, there are 5 checkpoint inhibitors approved by the FDA in the United States. Unfortunately, only about 1 in 4 patients will benefit from receiving a checkpoint inhibitor. Thus, about 3/4 of patients need other treatment options for their metastatic disease. So in 2013, we started a phase 1 trial of a drug called enfortumab vedotin in metastatic urothelial cancer. This drug is a smart bomb. It's a targeted therapy, and the target is expressed in approximately 97 to 100% of bladder cancer specimens. So what the target is something called nectin. Nectin is a protein that is an adhesion molecule that helps cancer cells to stick together. And there's an antibody that targets nectin, and this antibody has been linked to an antitubulin agent called MMAE. And this complex is called enfortumab vedotin, and this is what we've been evaluating. So in the phase 1 trial, we found that nearly 40% of patients who received enfortumab vedotin responded to the treatment, and these are patients who had had checkpoint therapy and prior chemotherapy. Additionally, we saw a high response rate, close to 40%, in patients with metastases to the liver. So the EV201 trial is a study that was designed to evaluate in a larger population of patients. We had 125 patients entered the enfortumab vedotin drug. So these are patients, again, who failed either platinum chemotherapy and checkpoint inhibition therapy. Overall, we had a 44% response rate that was confirmed on a second measurement. And when we look at the different subgroups of patients, we see that responses were seen across the board in patients who had had prior checkpoint inhibition therapy, patients who had PD-L1 staining, or patients from the upper urinary tract. So all of these had similar response rates. In fact, those patients who had disease in the liver, they had a 38% response rate, and we had a high complete response rate of 12%, and that's really the highest we've seen with any drug. This was a well-tolerated drug. Only 12% of patients discontinued treatment due to adverse events. 6% were due to peripheral neuropathy. These adverse events, such as neuropathy, rash, and neutropenia, are all easily managed, and in fact, with time, the neuropathy does resolve, and so does the rash. So we concluded that this is an active drug, and based upon the phase 1 and phase 2 data, we're filing for accelerated approval with the FDA for enfortumab vedotin. We're also looking at other ways of administering this drug. There's a randomized phase 3 trial comparing enfortumab vedotin to chemotherapy in patients who've received platinum as well as received checkpoint inhibition therapy. There are phase 1 and phase 2 trials that are looking at enfortumab vedotin combined with checkpoint inhibition therapy as well as other forms of chemotherapy. So this is a very, very exciting compound. We're really pleased to see that some of our patients are living for quite some time. In fact, from the phase 1 trial, we have 2 patients who are alive more than 3 years after they initiate therapy. We don't have any viable options for patients who failed either checkpoint therapy or standard chemotherapy. So my feeling would be that this drug would fit perfectly in those patients. And then as we're beginning to use this drug more, I think the drug will be moving up front earlier. And particularly in those patients with visceral liver metastases, that's a group that really does not respond well to standard chemotherapy or immune therapy.